This could be one of the deadliest known incidents involving Russian conscripts since last February's invasion. There's not much left of this building, once a school, now a destroyed barracks. Inside, Russian soldiers would have been ringing in the new year when they faced a different kind of fireworks. This is a before and after of the building, a massive strike reducing it to a field of smouldering rubble.
John, I think this is the fear here after 4 days of attacks by Russian forces targeting this city. But I think you mentioned that this attack in Donetsk, and the Russian Defense Ministry has confirmed that 63 Russian soldiers were killed after this Ukrainian attack targeting this facility in the occupied town of Makivka in the eastern Donetsk region. And the Russians are saying that this facility, a school that was being used by Russian forces as a base, was hit by HIMARS missiles, those missiles that have been provided by the Americans to Ukraine. And this attack happened on New Year's Eve. And this number 63 is a very different number from the one that has been released, given by the Ukrainian authorities. The army here say that 400 Russian soldiers were killed, 300 wounded after this attack. Obviously, we can't independently verify these numbers, but again, now the Russians confirming that a facility that was being used as a Russian base in Donetsk has been attacked by Ukraine, and they have confirmed that 63 Russian soldiers have been killed.
The attack is said to have taken place 2 minutes after midnight on New Year's Day on a city in the Russian-controlled part of the Donetsk region. The missile targeted a building in Makivka, where it's thought hundreds of recently mobilized troops were stationed alongside an ammunition dump. Ukraine says 400 Russian soldiers were killed here. Russia's defense ministry put the number at 63 and say the building was hit by 6 US-made HIMARS rockets. Russian nationalist war bloggers had scathing criticism. This one demanded to know whose idea it was to put so many soldiers in one place alongside a weapons dump, saying each mistake has a name. Russia has seen in the new year with nightly attacks on Ukrainian cities with Iranian-made drones. The Ukrainian Ministry of Defense claimed they shot down all 39 drones launched by Russia last night, 22 over the capital Kyiv. The night before, it was 45. They say it's a new tactic and a sign of Russia's desperation.
What has been changed for this time, I would say that they use more drones and less missiles. Probably this is a short-term decision and they accumulated them. But in accordance with what our intelligence is reporting, that they have less and less missiles, especially like long-range missiles and modern type of missiles.
So are you saying that Russia's running out of missiles?
As our military said, they have like a potential for 2-3 big attacks, no more. But the problem is that no one can precisely know the exact number. We do understand that they have less capacities now for reproduction. We do understand that they have less ability to get some kind of spare parts, especially if we're saying about some kind of high-tech spare parts.
313 days since Russia's full-scale invasion, and Ukraine's government estimates over 100,000 Russian soldiers have been killed. In this chilling video, a basement of bodies. Yevgeny Prigozhin, a close ally of Putin and founder of the Russian mercenary Wagner Group, inspects the bodies. Their contract is over, he says. They're going home. They died on the front line. Well, fellas, he says, farewell. Happy New Year.
Yeah, so the Ukrainians have said, and it's very interesting, that 400 people were killed there in this town, occupied town of Makivka, but they haven't officially claimed responsibility. This has been part of the strategy here. The Ukrainians rarely comment on attacks carried out against Russian positions, but now the Russians have confirmed that this base was hit by those HIMARS missiles that the Ukrainians have been using for for quite some time now to target Russian positions. And again, the Russians are now confirming that 63 of their soldiers have been killed as a result of this attack that happened on New Year's Eve in the eastern Donetsk region of Ukraine.
This was the Ukrainians using what they said were the U.S.-provided HIMARS system, which is a multiple rocket launching system that the U.S. has given to Ukraine. The Ukrainians have been using with devastating effect against the Russians. It struck what was kind of a vocational school that the Russians had turned into a barracks. So there were presumably tons, hundreds maybe, of Russian troops, newly enlisted troops, who were just sleeping there. And then they were struck by these missiles. We've heard from Russian pro-military bloggers now a fresh round of recriminations, condemnations of the Russian Ministry of Defense. These are bloggers who tend to have connections with the military and with Russian intelligence. They were normally cheerleading the war at its outset, and ever since now they've been harshly critical. This set off, again, another round of anger from these bloggers who, again, have some connection with the Russian military, criticizing the Russian military for what it sounds like storing munitions in the same place where all of these recruits were sleeping. So this was considered to be a massive mistake. And, you know, the Russians owned up to this. They said as many as 63 men were killed. The Ukrainians said it could be as many as 400 deaths, even though the Ukrainians didn't necessarily, claim having done this